What's doing, everybody? I'm Alec. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood. Today's guest on the podcast is comedian Roy Wood Jr. Roy Wood Jr. is on The Daily Show on Comedy Central. He's made appearances on everything from The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon to The Late Show with David Letterman. He's been on Last Comic Standing. He's one of the best in the business. He's hilarious. I'm honored to have him on the podcast today. Get down there, smack the subscribe button, tap the like, and let's jump into it right now with Roy Wood Jr. on First Class Fatherhood. Joining me now, First Class Father, Roy Wood Jr. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Now, am I automatically a first class father because I'm on the pod with you, or is it like, are there qualifications? How do I become like in Sergeant Father? Are there other rankings? Like
Nope.
Father first class is what I am right now.
First class is the top, the bottom, the middle, and the whole bit here on the show. Once you get onto the show, you made it to the rank of First Class Fatherhood.
Oh, then there we go. All right. Well, then salute.
Let's start right here, Roy. How many kids do you have? How old are they?
One, he's 4, and he knows too much. The internet, the internet creates more questions than it answers. And so, my son's at that age where he's inquisitive, but then each question, I'll give you a perfect example right here on my desk in my office. All right. So this is a collar stay, right? And he goes, well, what is that? I go, it's a collar stay. He goes, what does it do? I go, well, you put it in the collar of your shirt so that your collar lays down. And then he goes, well, what's a collar? And I'm like, shit. Listen, man, go watch Paw Patrol. It's the part of your shirt. Some shirts have a triangle at the top. Well, why do you have a triangle? I don't know, because that's how you show people that you knew how to read or that you went to college. You wear a shirt with a collar. That's the only purpose of a collar, is to show people that you're educated, or to trick people into thinking you're educated.
Yeah, you never find out how much you don't know until the 4-year-old starts asking you questions and you're trying to sneak peeks at your phone to figure out the answers.
He's firing them off. He's firing them off. He's obsessed with carnivorous plants right now. So we've been kind of going through that thing, with looking at Venus flytrap videos and pitcher plants and sundew plants, and he's really into insects dying horrible deaths right now. That's his thing.
Always fascinating for them. Are you going for any more here, Roy, or are you all done?
I would like to be done. I feel like my girlfriend wants another one, but I don't know, man. It's a lot. It's a lot to, like, I'm never gonna be one of these people that goes, parenting and it's awesome all the time. No, it's not. There's days it's stressful. There's days you walk around the house at 4 a.m. staring at your children sleep, wondering, how am I going to pay for this? And that part of it, I don't enjoy. Being away from him because of the type of job I have, I don't enjoy. So I don't know if I want to have that burden, that emotional burden, doubled. I don't know. But I also grew up an only child. I have a lot of older siblings. I have a lot of older half siblings, but I grew up alone, essentially. So I don't feel that need as much. Like, we got to get more people in this house. We got to expand the roster. It's like, no, this is good. Three people in this house feels good. This feels fine.
Hey, Roy, if you could take a minute here, please, just to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
I'm a stand-up comic. I live in New York. I'm on The Daily Show with Trevor Noah right now. But 20 years in stand-up and radio, and I've done 2-hour specials for Comedy Central. Hosted This Is Not Happening, which is a storytelling show. So prank phone call. Like, I've just Google me. There's enough there to at least pay the bills. I've kept the lights on for 20 years doing this, which is better than many. So I'm thankful.
Yeah, you've had an incredible career, Roy. And so, about how old were you then when you became a dad, and how did becoming a dad really change your perspective on life?
I'm 41 now, so I'm 37-ish, maybe. No, I wasn't 36, so Yeah, 37. Yeah, 37. It made me focus more. I've gotten more done in the last 5 years living in New York than I did during my entire 8 years of living in Los Angeles. I'd say I've done more in the last 5 years than I've done my whole career. You know, having a child is a way of really honing um, your job efficiency. And I think also there's a degree of wondering what type of world I'm leaving for them. So I'm definitely more cognizant of that, which, definitely informed a lot of my choices and stories that I follow for The Daily Show and the types of stories that, as a correspondent, that I go out to cover. So, that part of it, is the thing. And I think what a lot of parents aren't, um, what a lot of parents are, I think, taking for granted right now is that social media has essentially made us the first documentable groups of humans. So this concept of my son, like when you ask about your granddad, some motherfucker in your family goes and gets a book from an attic and there's like 8 pictures of him and that's it. And you have to figure out everything that he was and meant to your family through 8 or 9 photographs, and they're tattered, they're in black and white, they got all the weird spots from the fluid, the development fluid or whatever. So your kids, when you're dead, will find your Facebook. So they are going to be able to find, and like in my case, they're going to be able to find podcasts. I'm going to be dead one day, and this podcast is still going to be up. And my son can come and listen to it and hear my words and figure out, hopefully, something more about himself or how he should approach particular issues, right? So I just think that what we're doing now in the world, you're essentially leaving breadcrumbs of your existence for your descendants to reassemble themselves with, you know? And so I think I try to be more cognizant of that. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm Captain Wokety Woke or that I'm always saying the righteous thing. I crack a joke and say some weird, wild shit on Twitter sometimes. Hell, I do it on stage. But if the question is, how has it changed me? It's made me more cognizant of the breadcrumbs, that I'm leaving behind.
Yeah, very well said, Roy. And one of the things I say about just doing the show myself, if for nothing else, when my kids, I got 4 kids myself, and when they hit those areas of becoming fathers and parents themselves, they'll have this kind of like treasure trove of conversations of me talking about fatherhood and all this stuff with so many different people. So, I think it's awesome for that. The documentation of it, I think, is wonderful. But of course, there's a double-edged sword to it as well. There's a lot of catastrophes that have been created just because of the social media. So
Oh,
I think.
yes.
I think that works both ways. What would you say, Roy, are the top values you're hoping to instill in your son growing up?
Respecting women, understanding the value of hard work, and understanding the value in being kind to people, even people you don't know. My entire career is rooted in people who didn't owe me shit going the extra mile. I All of my career is rooted in that, time and time again. So be that blessing to someone else, and then also trust your instincts, not other people. You can talk to other people as a way to start figuring out what the puzzle pieces are of what you want to do. But in the bigger scheme of things in this world, I don't feel like you owe your life. Happiness is happiness is a singular experience, and I feel like we've been bred to believe that it's symbiotic. That if you're with this person or you have this thing, you will be happy or happier. You are responsible for your own happiness. Your happiness starts with you. And you have to identify the things that make you happy and surround yourself with people and things that complement that ideology. You can't be unhappy and then be with someone and that person is the sole source of your happiness. If they are the sole source of your happiness, then you have an inequity, and I think that's something that I wish I'd have learned earlier. So we'll get that. That'll be with the fourth or fifth Sun software update when he's somewhere around middle school. For now, let's just work on talking about carnivorous plants.
Yeah, and Roy, I think that ties right into what we were saying there with social media. I think that's one of the things that it's done, especially for this younger generation that's growing up with it, is it kind of puts an emphasis on what's supposed to give them the happiness and what's supposed to give them where they're in this kind of like, it's about likes and it's about views. It's about,
Right.
the status and the image that you're putting out. And I think we've lost that sense of, like you just said there, we're responsible for our own happiness, and that's the driving force for all of us. And then what I would say then, I know he's young yet, only 4, but what type of disciplinarian are you as a dad? Are you a spanker, timeout guy, and is that different than the discipline style that you grew up with?
Yeah, I grew up. I got whippings. I didn't get many. My last one was the sixth grade, though. My mom figured out real fast that discipline is more effective if you take things away from me than punishment. Punishment versus a whipping. Because I would always choose the whipping, and I think she got hip to that. Like, all right, so case in point. So in high school, if I was cutting up or acting bad, I'm not getting a whipping. She would just take my baseball glove because she knew that was the one thing I loved. I love baseball, still love baseball. And she knew if she took my glove, my coach, like, if you don't practice the day before a game, you can't play in that game. Was our coach's policy. And if you showed up to practice without your glove, you ran the entire practice because you didn't show up prepared to learn baseball. You showed up to do so you ran. So the fear of having to run bases all day for 3 hours in the Alabama heat, that was enough. That was more effective than any whipping. With my boy, um, we don't spank. You know, we're gonna see what that does. Someone said a long time ago, well, not that long ago, someone on the internet. They said that, and I don't know who said it, so I'm sorry for not having an attribution to it, but um, you think you came out okay because your parents spanked you. You came out okay in spite of your parents spanking you, and that just stuck with me. And I my default would have been to be, a harder disciplinarian because that's how I came up, and I feel like, well, that worked with me. But that quote really, really helped put a lot of it into perspective for me. And even if I'm wrong, you can always start spanking down the road, but you can't undo that if you're wrong, you know? So, right now we're a little bit of time out, but what I've learned with my son is I don't know how to put it, public isolation. Like, putting him in a corner doesn't bother him because he can go to his own happy place. In that regard, he's like me. He's a daydreamer, he's creative, he can find a little maze on the wall. I'll go and check on him in timeout. He's just running his finger around a maze, pretending his finger is a race car. He's happy. And I go, okay, well, that's not working because there's no comprehension that there has to be discomfort, in my opinion. So the way you discomfort him is to sit him down in the living room and not let him get off the couch. The fact that he can see fun happening around him and see people doing things around him, infuriating. Absolutely infuriating. We're trying to teach him the concept of sharing. Um, and that's always been a tough one because there's not another sibling in the house for him to fight with. So I play with him. And then sometimes I will go, no, this is the car I want to play with. And he'll try to be bossy and go, no, you get the green car. And I go, no, I want the orange car. But I want you to have the green car. I don't want the green car. You have a red car. Worry about your car. And let me choose the car. I want a green car. All right, man, go sit on the couch. And then you go sit on the couch. And then I start playing with your fucking red car. Now he's miserable. Now he's, oh my God. But within that, we've learned over the last year or so that it has helped him calm himself and learn how to take deep breaths and not default to anger. You integrate in a little Daniel the Tiger. Daniel the Tiger is probably the best program out there with regards to how to control emotions and understanding what your emotions are. So we'll rewatch a couple of episodes of that, if need be.
Yeah, we used to have, like, you don't see as many of those programs. Like when I was a kid, it was the Mr. Rogers that was very popular. That always had those things that would tell kids how to deal with emotions, and they explained like all these different things. You don't see too many of those programs like that geared anymore. A lot of it is more the Disney Channel type of stuff that gained, like the Paw Patrol, like you said before there.
Yeah, I mean, Bubble Guppies is good for analysis. Blaze is good for some choice making, but like the intrinsic behavioral development, there's not a lot of programs out there for that, and I really feel like Daniel Tiger is probably one of the best that really captures. Also the interesting thing about Daniel Tiger, it's one of the few cartoons where the main character gets disciplined by an authority figure. And I think it's important for my son to see that, to understand that there are consequences. When you kick over herd blocks, yeah, bro, you got to go sit down for a second and we're going to have a conversation about this, and figure that out. But, I do know that because I'm raising, if I'm going to be honest, I'm also raising a black male in this country. And not everyone's going to see him as a black boy. Somebody eventually, one day, will see him as a male before it is time. And his temper and his ability to control it could be the difference between coming home or going to a funeral home. And that really sits in the back of my mind. So the thing that I've always tried to work with him on is controlling just the anger and the outbursts. Because you catch the wrong school teacher, come second or third grade, now they trying to suspend you. A lot of these schools don't have the patience for kids, and a lot of teachers just don't have the bandwidth. The class ratio is fucking 40-1 in some of these classrooms, so it can get out of hand. So I just want to make sure that understanding how to harness his emotions, because here's the thing, anger is a useful emotion. Everybody acts like anger is this scourge in a way. No, you don't make this. What I try to tell them is that you don't make decisions angry. You can execute while you're angry and let that drive you. Let anger and the desire to never feel that way again drive you, into doing something that's focused. Almost, revenge is a cousin of anger. Being able to get back at someone or prove them wrong, let the anger drive that. But you have to think clearly. It's like when he tries to put on his shirt and he has a shit fit because one sleeve is inside out, but he hasn't slowed down to take the time to assess the problem and then figure out the solution. And then, so it's about teaching them how to slow that down. And that's one of the things that you have to be, that's one of the things that I feel like I have to be cognizant of as a parent in helping him with, because there's not a lot of materials for that. They're not going to teach him that at school. School teachers aren't going to slow down to teach emotion. They teach conflict resolution, but the base level, why are you going ape shit crazy because you accidentally broke your crayon? They don't have the time. They're just going to give him another crayon. But what he needs to understand is that the way he acted over the crayon, that wasn't okay. And there's another way, through that stuff. So,
Yeah, I've heard the analogy put to, like, you can't see your reflection in boiling water, and you have to wait till the water stops boiling, and then you can see your reflection clear in the water. So it's like something like that, with the analogy of not making those decisions while you're angry. And I think that, obviously that each child is different. Like I said, I have 4, and each one of them, they got to be disciplined, and they got to be handled in different manners, because they all have a different way to get their attention and get them learning and all that stuff. So it's a learning process all the way around. And getting into what you do here, Roy, right now I know the game has changed a lot from when you started into the comedy business. the way everyone is consuming content has drastically changed. What kind of advice do you have out there for parents that have kids right now that are interested in pursuing comedy career for themselves?
I mean, if your kids are interested in entertainment, just make sure that you're keeping them connected to children that aren't in entertainment. My son really isn't in front of camera that much. He does a little cameo here and there in goofy web videos, and he's popped in with me on the Daily Show in the background, just being silly. It's quarantine. Why not? But, I was never a stage child. I didn't get into entertainment until I was 19. I didn't even see a television camera until my, early 20s. So, if you have a child and you think they're funny, I will say definitely encourage it and facilitate it. Introduce them to different types of stand up. Everything that I discovered about comedy, I stumbled across. No one showed me that. No one even took that as a path. But I'm also the child of two educators, both with multiple degrees. So, comedy to a degree as an art form is seen as something a little inferior. It's not singing, it's not dancing, it's not the piano. It's never considered regal, yet it's the most essential of all of the performance, disciplines, in my opinion, because it's the spear of change and conversation and critical thought and analysis of society. I would put music in that realm as well. Theater, depending on the play, can be an honest critique of society and what we are. But if you have a kid, watch funny stuff with them. Like that's my son loves a microphone, and it's nothing that I drove him to. It's nothing that I made him do. Like he will, if right now, if he were in this room with me right now, as soon as I get off, he would immediately go, is it my turn to talk into the microphone? And then he would try to entertain. He would try to interview me. And he would just ask me what my favorite color is and stuff like that. But he would try. And so that becomes something, worth encouraging. It's just whatever he encourages, just lean into it. And that's what I do.
Yeah, and what's really cool is that we have these kind of tools, all of us now. Like I remember when we were kids, we had that one family video camera that looked like my father was working for NBC. We hold it up on a, now we have access to all these tools where my kids, they can take the phone, they make their videos, they do all this they learn editing, they learn all these different skills, and they have access to all these tools that we never did. So I think that part of it will help create a lot of different styles of entertainment as we move forward here for sure. And I know
I'm just leery about teaching them about. Like, I don't put him in front of camera. Like, I've had opportunities where I could goof off and put him on a green screen and show him in space and all of that. I just don't want to expose him to any of that yet until he sees everything else. So, because when you're creating art as an artist, you are a reporter on the world. And so you need to experience the world. So learn the piano, take a karate class, go do soccer, go do all that other shit. And if you still like goofing off with this camera, okay, it'll be here. And, I'll teach it to you. But it's nothing I'm going to force on him and nothing I'm going to, make him take part in. If anything, I'll have him help me set up a tripod or, twist the knobs to adjust a light stand just so, it's father-son interacting. But, it's never anything that I'm going to, force on him. I just think whatever your kids are showing an interest in, just lean into that. And then if they move to something else, lean into that too. And that's what my mother did. And I just never had the guts to say that I thought stand-up comedy was fun because I thought it would get shot down. But in hindsight, I know my mom would have just driven me to an open mic at 15, 16 years old.
Yeah. Good stuff, Roy. Yeah, and some of the stuff is very bizarre for me. Like some of my younger kids will watch YouTube where there's just a kid opening up a box toy or just watching somebody else playing a video game, and it's like they got 10 million views on the thing, 100 million subscribers, and it's nuts. It's crazy, yeah. And just for some silly stuff. So you never know. I mean, that's why you try to reinforce what they're interested in because you never know where it could lead. And getting back to you now, you're getting back on the stage. I know this may come out right after your appearance here at the Stress Factory, but what is it like for you? How do you anticipate? Is this going to be your first performance getting back onto the stage since the coronavirus broke? And what other kind of appearances you got coming up?
I haven't been on stage since February 29th. I figured I would do a week of shows just in the tri-state area just to see, I'm going to go up to Connecticut as well. I'm going to, bounce back to Jersey. I might do something in Brooklyn. And it's fun to get back on stage, but I'm also, very leery of this. Ain't none of this shit ain't no joke worth dying to go tell. But, the numbers have been down in the tri-state. More importantly, the numbers have been down within our comedy community, and there haven't been any positives or false positives or no incidents at any of the venues over the last 2 months that I'm choosing to play. So in that regard, I feel a little more comfortable in tiptoeing out, but it's just all gonna it's gonna be freezing cold in a month, and it's just gonna be one big, well, what the hell are we doing? Why did so eventually I know I'm going to have to figure out what the indoor plan will be, but I've enjoyed having this time off the road all summer and being able to just, write and reflect, on a lot of things. So that's what I've been focusing on.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, for me, I've loved the opportunity to spend so much more time with my family. I know that's been like a silver lining in so much of this, being a chance to have everybody home and spend more time and do things. And like you said, open the door to give you the opportunity to write and things that you always put off because you say you never have time. So there's been some silver lining in all of this.
Correct.
And last thing I'm going to hit you with here, Roy, I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
Be kind to your wife, girlfriend, son's mother, whatever. Check on her needs. The happier and more comfortable she is, the better partner you have to do this with. So support her in any way you can, and it ultimately is going to be good for your child.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. I say you are a first-class father all the way, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
Absolutely. Thank you.